This is a PI Advice Podcast.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, yeah. It's Private Investigator time. What is going on, everybody? Man, it's kind of been a hectic week. I was like, I'm going to totally put out a podcast earlier, and I didn't, and then, whatever. It's the same old story every time, right? I want to make one, and I don't have time. Well, here I am. It's 2 o'clock in the morning on March 24th, and I still got to do a Tech Tuesday today, sometime later. Anyways, thanks for joining me, and I'm trying to turn down this music here. Of course, I'm not very good at that. So yeah, welcome. This isn't a Tech Tuesday. This is it's Monday, and I haven't recorded Tech Tuesday yet. But just a lot of things been going on, and who's got the best fans like ever? Like this guy, the best readers of the podcast, the best listeners. This guy. I'm very blessed to. Every few days I'm getting some email from somebody or asking me a question or, hey, good job or whatever it is. And it's encouraging. And, I don't know, it just makes it more fun. Just to have you guys interact with, with everything. So anyways, what do we got? Oh, one of the things I haven't talked about in a while, and it's like, and one of the reasons I don't is because it kind of toots my own horn. But I'm not trying to. I just think it's very cool that these people leave comments on the iTunes page on my for my podcast. Like if anybody's going to leave a review, this is where they usually do it. And I don't remember if there's a couple in 2013 that I'm going to talk about here. I don't know. I don't think I mentioned them, but I'm going to go ahead and mention them now since they're kind of more recent. And I haven't done these in a while. And it's one of the reasons I haven't done them in a while because I haven't had reviews in a while. So anyways, Justin Boyles writes, insightful and entertaining. As a new listener who just stumbled across a PI Advice podcast while looking up information to help into the field, I couldn't have started with a better outlet. Andrew delves into topics and resolutions to situations only an experienced private investigator could prepare one for. I only started listening to the podcast a few days ago, but I've already listened to half of those published. His advice has been very helpful during this time, as I have been studying to get my private investigator's license. I hope one day to contact Andrew further for advice regarding the career, but until then, I couldn't be happier with the informative show. The only complaint I would have is just that there aren't enough to listen to. I would highly recommend anyone interested in the PI career to listen to the PI Advice podcast. I did not pay him to write that, but I was very generous. It was a very generous, it was a 5-star rating and a very generous review. And I thank you, Justin, for writing that. Another one, another review, they wrote bar, 5-star. I don't know what bar means, but thank you, because it was 5 stars. It was by Mowgli. It says, awesome podcast. It's from Dan Makutis from Blue Chip Protection. So Dan, you know what? You give me a 5-star rating and you get a plug on the podcast. So Dan Makutis, if I'm saying that wrong, sorry, from of the Blue Chip Protection. I'm sure you guys can look them up. You'd find them pretty easy. And then March 19th, 2014. It's from CNT Master. I recently opened up my own business after I was done with military and police work. I have done pretty well for myself so far, but there's always a time where I need a second opinion from someone more experienced. This guy has great advice on many things I had to figure out on my own, and some things I never even thought of yet. But he keeps it entertaining and interesting. It's not a lecture. It's very casual and down to earth. He has been very helpful. I've heard a few here and there, but now I am subscribed. I don't want to miss an episode. Thank you for all your help and entertainment. I'm glad I'm entertaining. Thank you, CNT Master. I want this career to be fun. I want it to be interesting. I don't want it to be as boring as it can be sometimes. I don't know. whatever. I'm glad you enjoy it. Thank you. And I'm very appreciative of all the 5-star ratings you guys left me. And if you're listening to this and if you guys go on iTunes and want to leave a rating, great. I mean, if it's 5-star, 1-star, whatever, leave a rating, leave an honest review. And if it's a bad one, I'll just have to suck it up. So anyways, thank you guys for that. And I'll go ahead and close this out. And I don't need that open anymore. Something really cool happened. I do other blogs and stuff, and I do this one blog, and I don't usually talk about this stuff on here, but I'm going to go ahead and just because it was fun. It was cool and it was fun. I have a blog called overprotectiveparents.net, and I got messaged by the Huffington Post on Facebook, and they were like, "Hey, would you want to come on this panel and talk about being an overprotective parent?" And I'll be honest with you, I was kind of nervous about it because. The most on-air time that I do, well, that was really annoying, that I do is it's on here. It's on the podcast. It's just me in a room, and if you're judging me, I don't get to see it, really, right? So if you don't like it, I get an email, but it's not instant. So I ended up saying, yeah, let's do it. And I ended up sitting on a panel with some very smart people, much smarter than me. And we got to talk about the topic of being an overprotective parent, and it was fun, entertaining. If you guys want to see that, I have a link to it on my overprotective parents website. Go ahead and go there. It's on the sidebar. I just thought it was so much fun to just be able to say I did it. It might not have been the best appearance, but I had fun doing it. So whatever. So anyways, I plugged that. What else we got going on here? A message for Seth. Seth wrote me a huge email. And just if you listen to this podcast, you'll know that I got your email and I'm going to respond to you. It was very long, and I want to give you a very good response back. So just hang in there. It might be on the podcast, or I'll email you back. One way or the other, you'll get a response. All right. What else? Another thing I wanted to talk about for the podcast today is going to be about private investigator equipment. Now, I did write an article on this, but like I've talked about before, some people listen to the podcast, some people watch the videos, and some people just read. A lot of people just find my content by reading, search in Google and it comes up. And so, I wrote this article a while ago, but it's popular. It gets a lot of love. It's been reposted a few places, so that's always good. But I wrote way back when number 32. Private investigator equipment list, top 20 things you should have in your surveillance vehicle. And I'll be honest with you, not much has changed since the time that I wrote this, probably last year sometime, to now. But a reader on Facebook, and I probably won't even have it now. Let's see, Facebook, and who was it was John Sandoval. He wrote me a nice message on here. He had some suggestions also, but he wanted to hear about equipment, and I apparently he might not have read this, or he just want to hear me talk about it. But so, John, I got your message, and I actually was looking through my emails, like, where did I remember hearing it somewhere? Where did I go? And I looked through my Fortified IS email, and I go through my PIA advice email. I couldn't find it. I go, oh man, it's Facebook. All these different people contacting me. Through different avenues, and I got to remember where I read what sometimes. So top 20 things, and I'll probably add a thing or two here. The first thing you should have in your car is a GPS of some sort. Now, Garmin's great, or whatever you want to. I don't even know what they are. I know Garmin is one I bought for an outrageous amount of money way back when. It was like $300 or $400 or something like that, and now you can get them for like $100. So it's a good investment. It's it's satellite driven, so which is always nice. It's good when I was going to say the other way you can do it is have your phone, Google Maps. That's an excellent GPS. It's actually probably typically more up to date than some of these devices. But then again, I don't know. I don't use my GPS as much anymore since I got my phone. The phones are so smart now, but I still have it in there. I just don't use it. So GPS, you want to have one of those, and just, little story way back in the day, 10 years ago. I'm sure there's people listening to this that are like, what? You had that? I wish I had that. Well, we had, when I first started working for the company I got into the industry with, we had Microsoft Maps, and I don't know if that's what it's called. I think it was what's called. Anyways, so I would literally have my laptop open, driving to my case, staring at the map, and looking for crossroads and stuff. As I got close to my thing, and I'd map, everything would have to be mapped out the night before, and I'd write out my directions. And then finally I could afford a GPS, and that made everything different. I didn't have to map things out anymore. I could just wake up in the morning and plug in the address, and I was good to go. And so anyways, way longer explanation of using a GPS, but just use a GPS, okay? And if you don't buy the GPS, the Garmin, use the phone, the smartphone. Hopefully you have one. I highly recommend Google Maps. That's just the best one that I've seen on there. I've written about other ones in the past, but Google Maps actually is the best for the GPS. All right. What else we got here? A DC to AC power inverter. You cannot live without this. You must have this in your car. And basically, this plugs into your cigarette lighter and gives you the ability to plug in those regular plugs into your DC to your this inverter. I call it a converter because it converts power the way I want it. So you want one of those. You want with a couple plugs, and sometimes they come with like little USB ports too. They can plug in USB stuff. That's always a bonus. So why do I need this? You want this? You're going to charge your computer in your car because you're going to be messing around your computer. You're going to charge your camera when you're shooting hours of video on your person, and you don't have any backup batteries. You can just plug it into your inverter. I use it all the time. I mean, I really do. I mean, this is one of the things you just can't not have. If you don't have one, I don't know what you're doing. You're crazy. Have one of those in your car. My one advice that I would give to you is when you're running your major devices off of it, you want to turn on your car. Now, this is basically the only problem I've really ever had is when I'm charging my computer. So I can get away with charging it without having my car on with the camera and little devices. But when that computer's plugged in, forget about it. I can't tell you how many embarrassing stories I have about killing my battery because I'm running it off the inverter without my car on. And I don't even want to get into that. That's a whole nother podcast of embarrassment. We'll have one of those one of these days here. Okay. So the next thing you want to have is binoculars. Now, you can probably just get away with some very basic $20 binoculars you go and get at Walmart or something like that. I mean, do I have a preference? I mean, I've done some learning about them. I probably should write about it because you guys would probably be interested in it. But the small ones would be fine. Test them out if you can at the Walmart or whatever you're doing. I mean, you're not bird watching. And these ginormous ones, I always worry about like throwing them up and then, someone seeing me hold these ginormica, binoculars. I haven't had the problem because I couldn't afford those anyways. So the little ones are quick, really easy. You can see if it's your person or see what's going down. And to be honest with you, you want to have those. But if you don't, for some reason, you can't find them in your car, just throw up your camera and zoom in on it. And that's for many years, actually, that's how I would zoom. Those were my binoculars. I would always say, I don't need those. I got my video camera. But, sometimes it takes time to open it up and then the camera to turn on right. And then you got to zoom when you can just flip them up real quick, take a peek at what's going on and see if that's your person. And then if it is, then you whip out your camera and you're good to go. Another thing you want to have is a jump starter. Again, because of my inverter problems that I just talked about a little bit ago, I use the jump starter quite a bit. But not just that, you want to have an inverter in there too. And they come with little cigarette adapters in there. Sometimes they come with plugs in this little battery jump starter thingamajingers. And you also want to have a compressor. Again, many stories where I was running had a low tire or was in the process of having a flat and I could pump it up and get to where I needed to go. There was a case one time where my tire was leaking air so fast that anytime I claim it stopped, I get out of my car, throw on the air pump up my tire, follow the guy to the next location, and I went there, finished the day that way. It was amazing. So you talk about earning my money that day, you betcha. So yeah, there's a picture of it on the site. I'll post a link to it. You'll find it and you'll get an idea what it is. Again, you can get those at Walmart. If you can check the rating, try to do some research to see what's a good one. The one's going to last you a while. Invaluable because they can jumpstart your car. You can run a little bit of juice off them sometimes, and then you can fill up your tire. Can fix a flat. Doesn't hurt to have that. Now I hear they're bad for your tire, but if it could just get you out of a bad situation, get you home, get you to a tire place, then you might want to have it. Just an extra thing to have in there. Can fix a flat. Supposedly it does something to your tire to fix it temporarily. Monopod. Now I've preached about this. You got to have one. It's mandatory. I went many years without one. I'm embarrassed to say that. You got to have a monopod. Makes your video look so much more unshaky. Is that a word? I do that a lot. I make up my own words. So monopod. Okay. Tripod. You're going to work those cases, man, when you got a claimant where he's going to be in a general area for an extended period of time, and you don't want to hold that monopod. I mean, you want to put the tripod up and you want to eat a sandwich and just videotape without having to touch it. That's what you want to be doing. You want to drink your soda. That's what you want to do. So tripod, I've recommended some in the past. It's not rocket science. You can go down to Walmart and get a $20 one and you'll be just fine. Or you can get a little fancier and get the Sun Pack one. I'm partial to that one. What else do you need? You need your video camera. You need your charger that goes with it and a battery backup. So hopefully you have a little extra battery pack. Definitely, that's part of your gear. You need to have that when you go videotape people, right? So that's what you can have in your surveillance vehicle. Bring your charger. Don't leave it at home. Just always have it in your camera bag. Backup battery. I have one in there somewhere. It hasn't come to that lately. I haven't had to mess with that very often. These things last very long. And then when I do charge it, like if I, at least with the Sony cameras, if I kill the battery, I'm videotaping someone for so long, I kill it. If I plug it in for 5 minutes, I got another 30 minutes of videotaping. And they charge so fast. They do good. Out of all the stuff they do with the cameras nowadays, that's one of the good things. All right. Next thing is memory cards or tapes. Now, if you're using tapes, you got to stop. Nobody's using tapes anymore. That's a hassle. That's a form of media that will deteriorate over time. Memory cards, not so much. So you want to get a camera with memory cards, and then you want to have extra memory cards just in case. I've talked about some of these bigger ones now, these 128 gigabyte ones. If you can come across that, this is not even a conversation. You should be fine. But then again, if it fails, you want to have a backup. So, even just buying a little 8 gigabyte one or 16 gigabyte, put yourself out $20, get the extra one, just leave it in your bag and forget about it. Don't mess with it. You always want to have a backup. Speaking of backups, you want to have a backup or just a secondary camera. If your camera fails, you don't want to tell your client that, I didn't get this incriminating video of him doing something that he shouldn't have been doing because my video camera crapped out and I didn't have anything else as a backup. Get yourself a cheap. I bought what did I buy? Did I even write it on here? I bought a Panasonic for like $150 like 2 years ago, and I've only used it a handful of times. So it was cheaper, but if you've seen the video where I do the zoom, that I'm using two cameras. One's the Sony and one's the Panasonic. The Panasonic zooms to like 72, and the Sony's like half that. Anyways, get a nice. It doesn't have to be nice. Just get one. Get a backup. Covert cameras is the next thing you want to have in your car. Not just one, not just two, maybe even three. You might want to have three to have in your car. And not necessarily because you want to have three, but you just need backups, like backup for your backup. Because some of these fail. Sometimes they're just sitting in your car so long that you haven't had the opportunity to use them. They're just not. They're not. We're not buying. like these quality spy cams. And even if we do, they're probably still all made in the same place anyways, where we think we're spending more money on these things and we're getting a better deal. But I have a theory that they're all made in the same place, and so they're all going to be a certain amount of crap. But anyways, carry about 3 of them. You can carry different ones. I carry the, right now, what am I carrying? Oh, this one. Was this the MD80? Yeah, the MD80 right now is what I'm carrying. And the other one, I can't think of the name of it. And then I carry the pen. Actually, I think the pen just failed. I've had that thing for like 2 years. I think it just failed on me finally. I've just been sitting on it. And I got the glasses actually as a backup. I haven't really used those, but it's a backup. The next thing you want to have in your car is toilet paper. Just have it. You don't have to use. Just trust. Have a little roll in your car. Just forget about it. Just put it in there. Put it in a secret compartment just so it's safe and keeps dry. Okay? Toilet paper. $20 cash. $20 cash. It just seems to be enough to get you through a day. Of course, you want to have your ATM cards and all that kind of good stuff, but you just want to have the cash because sometimes there's just things where you need to pay for it in cash. It's faster. You're not waiting for things. Just have it. Just $20. I think I got like $10 in my wallet today. That's about it. Overnight bag. If you're in the insurance industry, or even if you're not, even if you're doing like domestic stuff, there's going to be times where your subject, you didn't expect him to do it, but he just goes and leaves the state, or he goes 3 hours away, and then that client goes, "No, stay with him, stay the night, see what he does tomorrow." It happens, folks. It happens. So, have in your overnight bag, just a second pair of clothes, some drawers. That means underwear, shirts, and, I went as far sometimes to even have some kind of like a polo and khakis in there, just in case someone went somewhere fancy and I had to go in there and kind of look fancy. I would have that in there. Even some older dress shoes that I didn't wear all the time, but I just have them in the car. Anyways, that's just something to think about. Some people have, what do they call it? I've seen some guy write about bug out bags where it's a situation where you don't have time to kind of gather your stuff and get it ready to go because someone goes somewhere and gets out really quick, and you need to just be able to grab a bag full of everything you need and just go on foot with them. So in a bug out bag, you could have basically your other camera, your backup camera could be in there, fully charged, of course, with the memory card in there, maybe like a bottle of water, some snacks, maybe your secondary spy cameras in your bug out bag, just anything you can do to have and still document everything you need to do. Okay. Maybe even a hat could be in there to kind of change your appearance, or maybe just another change a shirt. So that's it. I don't have that on this list, the official list, but just something to think about. That might actually fit the way you do your, surveillance. Generally speaking, in your car, have a little extra food and water. Maybe a bag of peanuts or something. There's going to be times. I mean, it's going to be far and few between, I'm sure, but the time that you have that granola bar in there that lasts 2 years and you just have it sitting there and it's still good and you're starving and you can't leave where you are because of, all the good stuff you're getting on video, you'll be so thankful you had it. So a couple bottles of water, a couple snacks, some stuff that'll just last a long time, maybe some sunflower seeds, just something to eat. Have it in your car. One of my, was the reader here? The reader was, so John. So John goes, he writes me a nice message on Facebook, and then he recommends something I haven't heard of before, and I'm going to go ahead and drop it, John. So thank you for this, because I actually thought some people might get used to this, men and women. It's called a travel John, and it's just for peeing. I looked at it, I thought it was for poop too. Don't try that. It's just for urination. But it's basically like a sanitary bag where you can pee in there and then just throw it away. Now, John is thinking about the environment, and I think that's very cool. But my recommendation on this blog was a pee bottle, which is typical. You just kind of get a old Pepsi bottle or whatever, or a water bottle, and just kind of, if you're a dude, you just fill that up, right? And back in the day, it would be rolling around my car, and it was just like, oh, it's gonna explode. I'm gonna be really upset. But for women, you can get a portable camping toilet. Now, I've never used a portable camping toilet, but I work with ladies who've had these van setups where, and they won't leave the van. In the sense of they won't change surveillance vehicles, and they have like these ginormous vans, not like the minivans. They have the full size vans. And so they have everything they need in there, and then they got this porta potty, and so they could do whatever, any kind of surveillance situation. They're fine because they got that porta potty in there. So something to think about for the ladies. Men, if you got to go poop, that might be your option. You maybe get a camping toilet in your minivan. I don't drive a minivan most of the time, but there's no way I could set that up in my car. And if I make a mistake, I don't even want to think about it. As I'm getting upset about it, I don't want to think about that. So pee bottle, if I got to go number 2, I'm going to Starbucks and using a nice clean bathroom if possible. But if you can't do that, then those are some different options for you. And I'm sure you guys can think of some other things. You want to have a flashlight in your car? Listen, it's just one of those tools you're going to have to need sometime in some unique surveillance situation. Just do it. Another thing is a tool set. Your car breaks down. You want to have you don't want to be trying to fix a car with your fingers. Let me tell you, that's a miserable experience, and I've had to do that because I didn't have all the tools I needed. So just have a little tool set, some wrenches, maybe some socket wrenches. It doesn't have to be a big old toolbox, but just something that's going to get you through. Make sure you have all your stuff to change a tire. Make sure it's all there. You want to have all that stuff just in case, because you can be in the boonies sometimes. You just want to be prepared. Anyways, window shades. I always preach about that. That goes in your front window, or even just the little gray ones. They can fold down. Get those if you want. Sometimes I carry more than one set, not just for my front window, but sometimes I get paranoid, like the way the sun's falling or coming down on my car. I know people can have a better view through it sometimes. So what I'll do is I'll stick up the shade. Gives me some sense of, covertness, and I'll videotape around the shade. I don't know. That's what I do sometimes. What else here? Oh, okay. Now I can't forget because somebody wrote an article and mentioned my blog here. This article in particular, and they mentioned about how I'd forgotten something, and they said I needed to mention maps. Now, at first I didn't agree, and I kind of thought about, yeah, maps. You should have at least, if you're the state map, a Thomas guide, more particular, you want to have maybe just a Thomas guide for your state. You can have one of those, or just for your county, or for a couple counties that you go to a lot. That would be helpful for you, just in case, man. Just in case, it might be helpful. Anyways, so that's, basically I just read off my old post that I wrote back in the day. I hope that's helpful for you guys. I literally, I still have 90. The only thing I need to replace in all the stuff that I've talked about that I need to fix is my jump starter. It actually has failed. I need to get it. I need to replace it. But everything else that I've mentioned, I still have in my car. And I'm glad. it doesn't always come to that point where I'm like, I need everything every single day. But when you have it, when you need it, you just think you're brilliant because you're like, see, I thought about this 6 months ago and now I have it and it's perfect timing because I needed extra food and there it is. And, that just shows, and now I'm not freaking out. So anyways. That is this bonus podcast for, I'm still trying to get my voice back, guys. I don't know what's going on. I have this really deep, raspy thing going on here. I want my real voice back. But yeah, that's the podcast, guys. And, I'm just telling you, and you know, what's funny is I got a message from I just got back into town today, but or yesterday, I got a message from a listener, a reader, and he had said, yeah, people are talking about your blog post, yada, yada, which I won't get into now, but I just thought it was cool that he took the time, Floyd, to reach out to me, go, hey, people are discussing what you wrote. And I'll get to that in a news article maybe this week. I'll podcast about that and write something up. But I got the best listeners, let me tell you, hands down, on the PI podcast. I'm so sorry about that. So such good feedback. So I just really appreciate you guys. And yeah, I'm going to get out of here.